Hi guys, I'm Oliver and welcome to my channel. In today's video we're going to create some abstract macro art together. What does it mean? We're taking whatever we can find in our little macro world and having a rather abstract look at it. Then we submerge it in some liquid just to see if we can create some lovely reflections. And the best thing, we're only doing it with one single light source, this tiny little torch here. So you don't need to have any fancy equipment like flashes, ring flashes, softboxes, whatever. One single light source will do the job. You up for it? Let's go. Alright, let's talk about the little setup we're using. What I have here is that tiny little bowl and I filled it with liquid. The liquid itself is pretty much water and a little bit of milk. The reason for the milk is it makes water milky. The effect is we cannot see through the surface and we cannot see what's underneath the surface of the water. Therefore we are just adding some milk of it. I've placed that bowl on a little plate. I am quite notorious for making spillages and creating a mess, so this is my little safety net. And I hope there won't be an accident today. Okay, next thing. We need a subject that we photograph. To start with, I mean, it's this time of the year, the ever popular dandelion clocks here in my little collection box. And yeah, let's just find a single seed in it. They all look pretty much the same, so this one is as good as any other. Is it? Yeah, it is. Box away. And something to place the object on. What I have here is just a little piece of blue tack, which I put in that little cone shape here. I mean, blue tack won't stick underwater, so it just needs to stand on its own on a surface. And I'm putting that little dandelion seed on top of it. That'll do. Good. And I've also placed it, I bend it, that it points a little towards the camera. The reason for that is not only that I'm going to use a single light source, I want to create the images today without focus stacking. So when we now have the dandelion seed in a 90-degree angle to the camera, we have a lot of it in focus. If we have it flat, then we only have that bit or that bit or that bit, and we would end up with a stack. We will not be able to have everything from front to back in focus, but we are going to use the out of focus part as, let's say, a creative part of it. Next step, we're going to place that little construct here in our bowl. I put it right in the center. No, I want to have the tip of the seeds, these little hair, as close to the surface as possible, but I don't want them to touch the surface. Good. As you can see, it's right in the middle of the bowl. The preparation of the entire scenery is what's taking the most time of everything. And our preparations are done so far. I am not spraying water in now. Next step, we are bringing the camera in place. And we have the camera here. The next tricky bit is to align everything properly. As you see, I want to shoot from a slight angle from the top. The reason for that is I want to have the dandelion seed head and its reflection in a single image. I do not want to use the portrait format today. I want it in a landscape format, so let's see if we can arrange something. I found it in the center of my bowl, but as you can see, because I decided that I want to have a landscape format and not portrait, we are still too close due to the magnification of that lens. So I'm simply moving everything a little further away. And we're done with that bit. What have I done? Set up the bowl on a plate for safety, put a dandelion seed in the center of the bowl, brought my camera in. By the way, it's my crop camera, which I prefer for that kind of work over my full frame. with my 100mm macro lens. I have attached a little torch here onto my Gorilla Pod and put it in place. Alright, setup done. I'm happy with my composition. Now we are going to talk about light. As you can see, right now the light doesn't do anything. We need to have something behind our subject to first of all create a background, maybe create some color, and obviously perhaps throwing some light back on our subject to make the entire thing look interesting. First of all, what happens if I'm taking, that's just a little piece of mount board, some plain white board, when I'm putting that behind? Nothing happens. I can move that. You see, there's not a lot of a difference. The next bit, for demonstration purpose, I'm having a piece of white perspex here. So it's a reflective material. What happens if you put that behind it? Yeah, it's getting slightly brighter, but still, that is not what we want. You've already seen this little block here with some aluminium foil. If I would only want to use that as a reflective backdrop, I think it would not have much effect, but for the effect we want to put in today, I think this is going to work rather well. Okay, let's see if I'm right. Yeah, there we go. So I think this is a good starting point where we can start working with. But why is this? The reason for that is simply our camera angle. Because I told you I want to include the reflection of our object in the water surface. I'm not shooting in a flat angle. Let's take the camera aside and demonstrate you that. So, normally if we want to create with that water some sort of an infinity pool and we're shooting flat and horizontal, then the backdrop comes in place and we will see what's on the backdrop. But today we have a slightly increased camera angle, we're shooting from above. That means our backdrop finally will not be in sight directly. What we see is the backside of the water bowl and the back wall. So therefore we need to have something that throws some light or reflection or color or whatever back into our water bowl. That's it. Back to normal. Now let's make it a little more interesting. What I have, a little spray flask here, and you know that already, gently, carefully and from distance, we're spraying water on our dandelion until it starts building some nice droplets here. Yeah. When you think you're done, just add a little more. And okay, from the weight it's bending down and partially submerging in the water, but I think we can still work with that focus. Yes, we can, but it is still pretty boring, isn't it? And the reason why that looks boring right now is I personally think it's missing some color. What I've done, I have it's color gels, usually used for putting them in front of a flash. And I've put them together on my little stands here in pairs. And now let's add simply a little color in it. And now you see different effects we have here. It begins to slowly become an image the way I imagined it. What we're doing now is simply playing around with the color, see if we can create gradients, playing around with our backdrop, we're turning it, rotating it, throwing light in different angles on it. Actually, we are ready to take the first shot. What I now do, I simply play around with different colors, with different angles, with the backdrop until I am happy with what I see, and we're taking the images the way I want to. I'm moving our backdrop, 1 second exposure time, F14. Simply play around with the light, with the settings and different backdrops, basically until I get the result I like. Yeah, look at this. Focus sits. Good, let's take that one away, and we're trying a different color scheme. What about blue and orange? Yeah, I think that could work well. So as you can see, it is a lot of experimenting what I'm doing here. So before I start, I do have an idea of what I roughly want to create, but there is absolutely no guarantee that the outcome is really what you really want to achieve. Play around with it and learn with the process, gain experience, and sometimes the results are quite surprising. Good, and I think I'm happy for now. While I have that setup here up and running, I am simply replacing that underlying clock with a different one, trying a second composition. I'll show you the results later, and before we go on to a different subject, I will be back with another idea. Okay, that was an intense session so far, but very good fun. So as you've seen, the main thing is play around with light. We have one single light source, position it slightly different with the camera angle or from the side. Experiment with having the light from the torch on the main subject, on the dandelion seed itself, or without, only reflected from a backdrop. Play with different backdrops, differently position them, and just see what the results are. You get very often, it's quite surprising, but I personally think it's very satisfying. Dandelion seeds are not the only thing we can work with. I mean, what I have here is an old ball pen, and I just took the spring out. So the idea is I want to submerge that. Take that little safety pin here and see if I can get that aligned. Lose it. Yeah, that could probably work. Now again I stick it on blue tack. Alright, and into our bowl it goes. Plop, and it's gone. So that didn't work. Bad alignment, Oliver. So let's fix it. So as you can see, dandelion seeds are not the only challenge for your patience. Again, you have an idea in your head, and setting up the scene is what takes most of the time. So this is what I have created so far. If we now get some interesting light, color or patterns behind it or in it, I think I'm happy. Let's see what we can do. Let's start with the color. Good, now we need something behind it. What we had before is aluminium foil, but a rather flat surface. What I'm taking now is, I'm having a sheet here. Looks like I had my sandwich in already. I'll make that a little worse even. In the bin. Now I'm putting that on one of these boxes. Just for ease of handling, you know. So, and instead of having a flat surface, we're having now one, that looks like this. And who knows, maybe we can create an effect here. Okay, there we go. That could actually work. It could actually work nicely. And I'm playing around with that as well. You know, just to give it a few different angles, a few different color schemes. Just having a light, a little color made by a gel, and a backdrop that creates that bokeh effect. Yeah, I like that. Now I'm doing the same here, and I'll be back in a second with the results. I ended up in submerging that piece of wrinkly aluminium foil right into the bowl, into the water, and I think I got some interesting effects with it. Good, we did it with a single light, with a bowl of water and some very simple props, basically just some aluminium foil on a flat surface to throw some light back, to bring some reflection onto our main subject, and hopefully we got some interesting results. As always, I'm transferring them to the computer now, see what we got, and I'm back with a little slideshow of what we did today and a little summary afterwards. Alright, I am really pleased with the results, with the images we've taken today. To be fully honest with you, they turned out to be better than I actually expected. As always, I had an idea in my head, an idea in my mind, and I wanted to create it. When it is the first time you try something, you don't really know if it works out or not. Key is you start experimenting, and sometimes these experiments just go the wrong direction. Don't hesitate to step back and choose a different path. Find your mistakes, find out what works for you and what not. Eliminate the mistakes and just correct them. So with a single torch and a very basic backdrop, reflecting backdrop, we've created some pieces of macro art. What is a big difference to, let's say, when we're taking refraction photographs? In refractions, I only want to throw the light onto the backdrop. That's the part that I want to have illuminated. And I don't want to have any torchlight on the subject itself. Today, for what we've done today, it was different. I wanted to have some of the light on the subject itself because it really made the scene pop on outstanding. With the backdrop, you've seen it, position it different ways, up, down, distance, play around with it, you get different results. Don't hesitate to go unusual ways. So for example, let's take that wrinkly piece of aluminium foil in combination with that spring, a rather technical object. It really turned out very well when we are creating some of that kind of funky, spacey bokeh in the background. And of course, what is key today is these little color gels. Have you noticed? I've put them together in pairs according to the color wheels, complementary colors. Blue and red, yellow and purple, and another green and a light red. I only had one of the darker reds. I always like to follow the rules or the given colors of the color wheel, because for me it works well. I just like that these color combinations. You don't have to. Experiment. Do whatever you fancy. Find out what suits your style, what works for you, and why not? Make your mistakes, go and fail, and then just try and fail better. You know that. And this is it. We're at the end for today. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to hit subscribe if you haven't already done so. And yes, I'm really looking forward to seeing you again soon.